and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Roll call.
Malik.
Here.
Jankowski.
Here.
Lindquist.
Here.
Martini.
Here. Okay, number 4 here is agenda additions. We have at least one addition here, which to the board applicant section. We need to add Eric Krantz as an applicant for 7B.
For where are we going to put it?
Under 7B with the 3 new applicants.
7B?
Yeah. Any other additions or changes to the agenda? Motion to approve the agenda as amended?
Move. Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion to excuse Mr. Snyder, is it?
Sure. Okay, second that.
Those in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Approval of the meeting minutes. So we didn't have a meeting last week. So these are the minutes from last month. I'm sorry. So these are the minutes from April. I didn't see anything that needed to be adjusted there. I don't know if anybody saw anything that needed to be corrected.
Nothing to be corrected, but are you going to address the budget and how that went with council?
Yep, I'll get to that. We'll get to that in. I'll bring it up.
I didn't
at the
see it on
roundtable.
here, so I was just wondering.
I'll bring it up at the roundtable. We'll talk about it during the liaison report.
Okay.
Okay, move to approve the minutes.
I make that
Aye.
motion?
A second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great, all right.
You did call for the vote on Paul, right?
The vote on Paul?
Yeah, in other words, to excuse him?
Yeah.
Okay, reading this, I wasn't paying attention,
Yep.
sorry.
Okay, so call to the public. I think everybody's here as applicants, so we're probably good. And we're gonna get to you in a second, so I think we're all good. So we'll close the call to the public. All right, so the first thing of new business is Paul. Come here and give us an update on the happenings on the lake and the lake treatments. So it's all you, Paul.
All right. Looks like summer's finally here.
Today, yeah.
So, yes,
She has a mic for you, Paul.
sorry. Yeah, and for those of you that don't know me, my name is Paul Hausler. I'm an aquatic biologist. I work with a company called Progressive AE. We're the lake management consultant to the village. So we kind of oversee the management activities that occur on the lake from primarily aquatic plants. Also, we do water quality monitoring, and we write a couple of reports at the end of the year, and those typically are posted on the website. So I'm going to basically give an overview of the last survey and also kind of a summary of this year's activities thus far. That handout that I gave you, I'll give you this one when I'm done, basically shows where we are from what the activities that have happened this year, and if there's any cost incurred to the village by those activities. Those are shown on this, the top sheet, which is called the project journal, project work journal. And so the first activity, of course, is state of Michigan requires permit fee for an aquatic nuisance control permit. That's $1,500 for the area of impact for the size of Wolverine Lake. That permit was issued back in April. Their initial treatment was done in the channel area, kind of as a precursor for the season to try to keep the algae down to a dull roar. That was done on April 25 with a product called Sea Clear G, which is a chelated copper, kind of a slow release product that is very effective on star stonewort, but it is also effective on filamentous algae at that rate. We did a survey on May 4. At that time, the water temp was only 56 degrees. If you can remember, we actually had a fairly cold spring.
Yep.
And you wouldn't know it now, but things were a little slow back then. I would say that first treatment that was done was smaller than normal. Looked like a total of about 15 acres of treatment for a relatively minimal cost of just over $4,000. Came back a couple weeks later, on May 23, did another survey. Or actually, that was before the survey. That was when we were getting some complaints about algae. So we had the applicator come out and treat for algae right before the holiday. Turn the page over. We did another survey that week of Memorial Day, and then the following week, June 7, was a treatment. This one was a little bit bigger than the previous one, probably around 55 acres total, targeting primarily invasive species, Eurasian milfoil, curly pondweed, which I'll show you later in one of my later pages on pictures of those plants, in case you want to see what they look like. So that one obviously was a much bigger treatment, almost $26,000. And based on the calls we were getting, and Ryan went out last weekend to look and see if there was algae growing. And there was, and so we're expecting a treatment tomorrow. I talked to Casey, the head of, or the project manager with Aquatic Control, and I had him go ahead and bring extra copper, so they may expand those treatments. The thing with the copper treatments, unlike some of the other treatments, there are no swimming restrictions and no irrigation restrictions, so it really doesn't affect people, and the fact that they're not going to get posted the day before shouldn't really have an effect because there's no restrictions anyway.
Paul, which was the one that we can only treat one time before it kind of...
The sea clear.
That's a sea clear?
Sea clear,
Okay.
yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Will it affect the lawns or anything?
No, not the copper, not at the rate they're applying it, nope. So the following pages
So
are basically
just
the,
real quick, what are you using for algae outside of the sea clear? It's just a different form of copper? It's not...
it's copper sulfate.
Okay.
This is the last year that we'll be able to use copper sulfate in May and June.
The mic's not working, you can just
Oh,
put it
sorry.
down. I think it's just probably dead.
Is it working for you on your end? Can you, no?
Yeah, so you just put it down.
Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Just, you keep going.
Okay, I'll just talk loud.
So what will be the replacement for copper sulfate in the future?
Yeah, so we definitely want to do a treatment at the end of April to get...
The sea clear.
Yeah, with either sea clear or another product to keep it, go up to the parameters of what that is. The restriction is something they imposed 2 years ago. It's kind of controversial whether it was appropriate or not. That's not my job to judge on the rules, but they are the rules, we have to abide by them. But basically, for May and June, you cannot use copper sulfate. The reason for that is because they feel it can affect spawning fish, and that's typically when most fish spawn is in May and June. You're looking at panfish, bass, those type of fish, that's when they spawn. So we're going to abide by those rules. There is alternatives. Unfortunately, they don't work as well as copper sulfate, and they're more expensive. So we have to be a little bit more cost and effectiveness conscious where we apply it, but there's a chelated copper product that is allowed, but again, not as effective. It takes longer for it to be effective. So you
What are we
don't see-
using right now in May and June? Is it chelated copper or something?
No, we're using copper sulfate.
We're still using-
Because this is the
This is the last year you can do it,
Yeah, so
right?
then sea clear is what?
And sea clear is a chelated, well, actually, sea clear has copper sulfate in it.
Okay.
It also has a nutrient inactivator called lanthanum, which basically binds the phosphorus in the water column.
Right.
So basically, it's taking the nutrients out of the water column. And it's not a long-term effect, but it usually lasts a couple weeks.
Yeah.
So you get more of a sustained effect on that. on those areas. So, yeah, we wouldn't be able to use Sea Clear in May and June either next year, just to clarify that, because it does contain copper sulfate. So the maps that correlate to those dates are also included, so that first map is from that April 3 done channel. The second map was from the May 4th survey, and the Priscilla Core Diquat is basically targeting Eurasian milfoil and Gridley pondweed. It's kind of a 2-for-1. It'll take out both of those species. And the Triclopyr liquid is targeting Eurasian milfoil. And then the May 31 treatment, this one was much larger. By that point, the plants had started to take off. The green is the algae control, that's copper sulfate. And then the kind of dark blue is 2,4-D, which is a granular product. It's more effective offshore in deeper water, so that was used there. For Celicor, again, in the nearshore areas mixed with Diquat, and then there were two different rates. That's what those different hatchings are. One is at a lower rate, and that's typically treated in channels where you don't have as much mixing. So you can save a couple $100 per acre there. And
Well, when did you say the assessment was done, the survey, rather?
That's the date, so it was May 31. I think the treatment was on the 7th.
Okay. And the treatment on April 24th, that was just based on historical, where those problem
We were out there when we did the spring water quality, and we did check those areas. So it was a couple weeks before the actual treatment, but we did note that there was algae already starting at that point. So it wasn't like there was no algae there. We knew there was some algae
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
And then we also did a harvesting map. The village operates a harvester between June and Labor Day, basically.
Yeah.
And so every time we do a survey between those dates, we mark up a map to show where it might be appropriate to harvest. Obviously, they can go outside of this. This is just to help them out, basically. But we did mark the areas in red to not start till June 15. That's the areas that were treated with milfoil. Milfoil, by nature, can reproduce through fragmentation, so it doesn't behoove the village to harvest milfoil. It can spread it around if it's still alive. If you give it a couple weeks, that's going to kill the plant. So even if you're harvesting material at that point, it's dead, so it's not going to reproduce. So that's the idea behind those red areas. So basically, starting today, they can harvest all those areas. And I think that's it. Oh, there's one more map. That was the algae map. And again, this will be expanded beyond the areas shown here. But I did go by a couple of those areas, and there was, just from the road, Commerce Road, you can see that there's algae growing in there. So I think the timing would be about right. Hopefully the 95-degree weather won't stick around too much longer.
Yeah, sure.
And then the last page is we also collect E. coli bacteria samples between Memorial Day and Labor Day. And so we collect them from 3 locations on the lake. One is the Greenaway Outlet, actually an inlet, but it's called Greenaway Outlet. And then Mallow Beach, which is up here, and then, or Mallow Beach is,
Yeah.
We did have the beach closed for a day, didn't we, this year?
That was Mel.
do they do their own sampling?
No, I think
No, Oakland County.
the county did it.
The county.
They came in, they tested one day, which I gotta figure out how we get a better notification of that. They tested one day, they closed the beach for one day and opened it the next.
Yeah.
But we didn't get any notification at all, so I don't know how we get tied into that.
So does the DNR test that on their own whenever they want?
No, it's Oakland County, they've got a set series of locations on a set series of lakes where they test, and they test one of them.
Yep.
I had pointed this out to you. I don't understand why from the bridge to the access always seems to have, we have the south and easterly winds so much that way that the algae has been bad in there, and I don't know why algae wasn't taken care of the first time around. And then the weeds there too are just as bad. I mean, everybody along that group were constantly out there raking and pulling that stuff out.
Yep.
That's what we're hoping, that the chemical treatment is going to relieve some of that.
Yeah, they'll likely add that area. In fact, I'll note that to Casey to add that area on.
But we've been fighting it for a month already.
Is that your area?
Yeah.
The algae has been probably the biggest complaint, at least from what I've seen so far. It's been pretty significant again this year. And, at least the canal area that we did the sea clear earlier, we didn't get any complaints there this year in the beginning, which is good. I also think that the
Yeah, we might
resident...
want to expand that sea clear treatment. This was kind of a trial this year.
I think the resident that complained the most down there might have sold his house as well, so that might have changed.
Okay.
But I've been back there. I've driven back there a couple of times. It's been better. It's still the same typical areas, right? All the canals, the Greenaway drain, the same areas seem to be struggling with algae regularly. And then I think the change.
I think if we target those algae-prone areas next April, I think that will actually get some longer-term effect.
Yeah, I'm just surprised it wasn't done this year. We've had this problem before. It's not the first time.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely make those recommendations, right? Whenever I see something that needs help, I just generally, especially for algae, we can email them and then they just come out and do search and destroy type mission, right? So I think they're generally
again,
responsive.
algae, because of the fact that it doesn't have any restrictions, you can be a little more responsive in the treatment of that. So. Getting back to the E. coli, basically what I was saying, none of them are at actionable levels. The highest one's at 56. That was down at Greenaway. And the actionable level is 200 colonies per 100 ml. So that's for total body contact for swimming. So I'm assuming that the result that the county got and when they closed the beach was probably above 200.
And how often, you said you're testing that, how many?
We do that every time we survey between Memorial Day and Labor Day. Basically the swimming season.
And if you find something in excess of 200, do you have to
Yeah, we'll
contact the
notify.
county?
Yep, as soon as we get it. Usually it's the next day. It's not, it's the day after we collect it. So sometimes it might be 18 to 24 hours later. But we'll notify the village if we do.
So, it looks like Oakland County is testing Nantucket, the beach down there. They
Oh,
closed
it's different. It's not Mallow. Okay.
They closed it on the 8th, but opened it on the 9th.
Is that the one at the west end or northwest?
Double
I know
check.
there's a beach. There's like a beach down here. That one? There's several beaches.
No, that's Spring Lake Heights there.
I know there's some road in beach stuff too.
Okay.
Then the final handout I had basically was.
It's the one down on Penny Lake on the west
Oh,
side,
okay.
west side of Penny Lake, just
So it's
up
right-
from the
It's
Greenaway.
near Greenaway, so
It's just-
that was the highest number we got.
Northwest of the Greenaway drain.
So it's likely influenced by the drain coming in there.
Yeah. Okay.
So the final page, 2 pages that I handed out, is I updated the schedule to kind of show the actual dates for the one. And then the next survey is scheduled for June 23. And then we would do the treatment for the last week before the holiday. So try to get the treatment like Monday or Tuesday of that week. Because I know some people either take that whole week off or they take the next whole week off.
Yep. Yeah,
And
generally.
then, yeah, the August,
Stay away from the holidays.
yes.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if he treats it week of 27th, you could treat it on the 28th or something, 29th, and still have it open, everything open the whole
Yeah, we'll try to
holiday.
get it, and I'll let Casey know to plug us in for Monday or Tuesday.
Yep.
Then we have another survey scheduled for the 19th of July and August 9th. And then the final survey would be that more detailed survey that we use for the report, which would be the week after, for the week of Labor Day. And then the last page is kind of explaining the different plants found and what the typical, how they're managed, whether they're exotic or native, and then it shows those pictures of the three bases that we're primarily targeting, which are Eurasian/hybrid milfoil.
Can you comment on the other lakes that you're treating and how they're dealing or how they're seeing algae? It seems like the algae is our
So
worst
it's-
case.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same across the board. We've seen more algae growth this year. I think it's a combination of things, with the cold spring and then all of a sudden. So what the cold spring does is it slows the macrophyte or rooted plant growth down. And so in the spring of the year in particular, the algae are competing. The algae are like the free-floating small little organisms. They're competing with the rooted plants for available nutrients. And so if there's not as many or if there's not as many rooted plants there, the algae take advantage of that, so you get more growth. Now, a lot of the algae growth actually starts on the bottom. So they can take advantage of both the nutrients from the sediment and the water column. So they're kind of drawing from multiple sources, whereas the rooted plants, it's primarily from the sediment. So they have an advantage in the spring. That's why you see more algae in the spring. And as the summer moves on, you get different types of algae that start growing. And that's when the concern comes with what's called harmful algae blooms. And that's the microcystis and some of the other ones that might have toxins in it. So if we do see something that looks like it could be a HAB or a harmful algae bloom, there's a email that we use this all the time. They're really responsive. EGLE, or the state's Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy, have a program set up where they'll monitor for harmful algae blooms. So you have to take a picture of it, tell them where you're at, and send it to them. And if it looks like it might be, they'll have somebody local come out and check. They usually use the health department or the state health and human services. I think, yeah, HHS.
Oh, yeah.
And so they'll usually have a local office where they'll send somebody out. Or if they find it is a problem, they might send a couple of guys from Lansing, which they're the experts. So we had a couple lakes. We had one, Dixie Lake, a couple years ago, and another one on the west side of the state where they got this harmful algae bloom. And they didn't get it till like Labor Day, but it stayed until like through October. So that's typically the timing of it. You get them late in the season, but you can get them earlier too. So
Is it easily treatable once you get it?
yeah, you can treat it. It may or may not completely eliminate the situation. Although once they find those high numbers, they test the amount of toxins in the water. They'll come out like every few days and test it. And they'll basically, what they had to do on Dixie Lake was they have to pay or post at the shoreline and say, it's not recommended to swim, it's not recommended to have your small children or pets in the water. And the problem with small children and pets is they don't know enough to not drink or, ingest. And so particularly if a dog, say, goes in there, they tend to lick their fur off and it sticks to the fur. So that's a problem. They've had some dogs get sick, some even die. Not very often, but it does happen. So that's that program.
Okay.
So that's kind of all
Seems
I
like
have.
algae is going to be a complicated one for us because I have notes here that says, long dry spells can lead to algae, and then we're saying cold springs can lead to algae, like
Or if you get a heavy rain.
heavy rain can lead to algae.
It's the dry spell. That's the best combination.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, thank you.
You guys have any other questions? We good? Cool. All right, thanks, Paul. And like I said, if you guys see stuff, we can easily email Paul, usually gets back right away. That's how we're getting the algae treatment this week. So, okay. So 7B is new business for the board applicants, so we got a few of them. So just process-wise, just to level set everybody, right? We've got, the board's allowed to have 9 positions, right? We currently have 5. Of the 9 positions, 7 of them are water board members directly. 2 of them are liaisons. We have 1 liaison to the planning commission, who's Paul. He's not here today. And then we've got liaison to the council, sitting to my left, Bob. And so we have 7 members on the board maximum, and then 2 liaisons. So the way that we will do this, we'll do like very casual interview, right? Some general questions. We'll have you guys come up here, state your name. We'll ask you, I got some questions we'll ask. We'll kind of go through all 3 of the applicants. We've got 4 openings. And then we'll have to have somebody make a motion to recommend you to the board. We'll vote on it, we'll do a roll call vote on it, but we'll wait until everybody talks first. And then we don't actually add members to the board ourselves. That recommendation goes to council, and then council would confirm somebody as a member of the board, right? So tonight it'll basically just be getting to know you, understand your background, what your interests are, and then making motions as necessary to add people. We do have 3 spots immediate to fill, which are members who've left the board for various reasons, whether it was the end of their term and they didn't want to re-sign up, or if it was we had people leave for personal reasons, et cetera. So we have 3 positions open. In general, what happens is if you're backfilling somebody, so Mike Sargent, when he's left, his term ends December 31st, 2022. Couple months from now. And basically, if you're on the board and we put you in the spot, when that date comes up, we just renominate you. It's not like a whole nother interview process, right? So we've got 3 positions to fill that we'll go through. But like I said, we'll do the interviews and then we'll have, if somebody makes a motion to nominate you to the board, we'll have a roll call vote on it and go from there. So fairly simple. Pretty informal interviews. So I guess we can probably start the process. If anybody wants to volunteer to go first, we can have you come up to the microphone. If not, I'm going to go in order.
I'll go first.
All right, come on up to the microphone. Please give us your name, address, and then we'll kind of just poke some questions.
All right. Kyle Jennings, 2067 South Commerce, Wolverine Lake.
Great. Okay, so I'll ask a couple questions to start, and then let you guys ask whatever you
Yeah,
want.
I'm at a loss because I don't have a copy of his resume. Thank you.
Oh, no, that's not his.
No,
So you got
that's Eric.
You guys got to check.
He's going to tell us all about himself.
Okay.
It's in your email. But
There's the technology thing.
all right. So I guess just tell us about yourself. Any background, any involvement in the community, things of this nature, whatever you want to tell us.
So, I have undergrad in Bachelor's of Science, and so I've kind of been interested in just like water and actually in college I started like researching a little bit about like desalinization and like better processes for it, and then it kind of turned into like just making more clean water with like Flint and everything else. And so I mean, that's all planning stages, but I'd like to do something with that, and I'm kind of a water conservationist at heart. Like, wife runs water too long, like walk by and shut it off. She gets a little annoyed with me, but and just water quality, like having clean place to live and enjoy, and it's just kind of been a passion of mine for a long time, and I saw this opening online, and I thought, it's something that I think I would enjoy being a part of. I'm a teacher, and my first school I was at, I was pretty involved with the board there. It was a startup school, so I do have some experience working with boards. I've never been on a board, but and it's a little bit about me.
Cool.
How long have you lived in the village?
Probably this is 4 years,
Okay, that's fine.
I think, somewhere around there.
Anything you've noticed with the lake that you think needs particular attention based on your observations?
I mean, when he was kind of talking, I was actually just kind of thinking about, like you guys were talking about, like algae, and I mean, something that kind of popped in my head is if you guys investigate like bottom feeders, like stocking the lake with like bottom feeders and seeing if because I know like you had a fish tank, you always had a bottom feeder in there to keep it clean essentially. Just like, I mean, something like that just kind of popped in my head, like for algae control, so.
Right. Some of the other things too, it's not just necessarily the water quality, but it's just lake access.
Right.
Some other things too. So there's a lot of different aspects of things that we can get involved with as a group or as a community. So.
So like our purview could be anything involving any of the water and how it gets into the lake, or anything having to do with the lake in general, right?
Okay.
So, anything with the drainage, stuff like this. So we've done stuff for erosion. We've done a variety of projects. So it's a pretty wide bandwidth. I mean, the board itself, we're a recommending board, right? We have a budget, but we basically would make recommendations to council and say, okay, we believe we should do this, and they would approve or deny that thing.
Right.
Generally, they're going to go with our recommendations, but not always.
Right.
So, there's kind of a wide, whether it's like changing safety stuff or signage or running, boater safety classes, or, there's a wide bandwidth of stuff that we're involved in. One of the things for, as far as time commitment is concerned, the board meets the third Wednesday of every month. Right. So I guess from that perspective, we have had resignations on the board for people missing meetings, right? Basically, you're allowed to miss a maximum of 4 a year. So I guess from a time commitment, a Wednesday afternoon, third Wednesday, do you have anything else that conflicts with that would prevent you from participating?
No.
Do you travel out of state for months at a time?
No, usually just weeks. And it's usually not too far.
Yeah, we'll do it Thursday to Tuesday, and you'll be good.
Yeah.
This board in general, for us to actually be effective, it does take some investment in time. I'm not going to say it's like, a ton, but nothing's going to get done, right? It's really easy to complain about things.
Right.
It's much harder to fix them.
Right.
And it's all volunteer and nobody else is helping, right? So sometimes we have to rally community, get some people involved to get things accomplished. So, I mean, I don't know if you have any experience in the area of like trying to pull together the community to do a project or something like that, but any of those types of skills and the motivation to actually get things done, right? There's no shortage of opinions on what we should do, but it's a lot harder to find somebody who's willing to actually do it.
A lot of problems without solutions kind of things.
Yeah. So,
well, I do have a little bit of experience with, so because I was a startup school, I was at like kind of organized events, fundraisers or like parent meeting nights, the staff was literally I think 8, so like it was, on the shoulders of usually 3 that would actually do things.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we have done with that, and I've worked with like the parent groups, coordinating events and different things like that, so
Cool.
I do have some experience with that.
Give me some comments on like how you use the lake in general. Like, what are you? Activities?
Swimming, boating, typically.
Cool.
That's about it.
You get on the lake often, or?
I haven't this year. I do have a small boat, but I'm sure you guys have seen my garage. It's without a roof. You might have driven past my house before. So I'm not really spending any time with any lake access, and we have some really good friends on Angola, and so we go out with them. So cool.
Well, the reason I asked that question is to get your perspective as to what you see that goes on the lake. Okay, whether it's high-speed boating, people not paying attention, just different things, and that I didn't know if you had any response to any of it.
To be honest, I wasn't really watching for it. I mean, it's not something that I was putting a keen eye on it, but, you know, if I was a part of the board, you know, something like that would be something I'd...
Well, it's not a necessity by any means, but I just...
You're just
looking for
wondering.
perspective.
Yeah. No, I don't have too much for you, sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cool. Any other questions? You guys good? All right, cool.
Thanks,
Thank you very
guys.
much.
Thank you.
Anyone next willing to throw themselves? Jump on it.
You're in the front row, Eric.
Everybody have my...
Yep.
Okay.
You have it. So,
Yep.
you know, probably not all the same questions, but similar line of questioning. So I guess give us
Now that you know them all, yeah, you can just run down the
Like
list.
your
easier for me.
Name, address, and a background on yourself to start.
Sure. My name's Eric Grant. I'm at 701 Laguna Drive. I've lived in the village this round for about the last 4 years. Total about 13 years. It's my first, I used to live on McIntosh Court, first house out of college. Lived there about 9 years, then moved away to Texas, Italy, Ireland, England, Mexico, Texas, and back here. So kind of went around the world for a while. So a dozen years or so, traveling around a bunch of different countries. So I've got an undergrad in manufacturing engineering from Western Michigan, a master's degree from Lawrence Tech, and a doctorate also from Lawrence Tech. So I work for a company called FXI. I'm vice president of operations. I've got about 10 plants across the U.S. I do travel, so but everything's remote right now. Our headquarters is in Philadelphia. I've only been there once in my life over a number of years, and so most of my plants are within driving. Some of them are within driving distance, the important ones. So I'm very flexible on when I can schedule my travel, and certainly now for the last it's very, very limited. So you know, why do I want to be here? I live on the lake. I'm on the lake quite a bit. I've got a couple wave runners, the pontoon. I'm out there, you know, screwing around on the lake quite a bit. I don't fish, but you know, certainly the water sports. I have nieces that come over, use the lake all the time. My little 7 and 9. No, where are they now? 6 and 8 actually. And I have a dog that jumps in the lake on a probably 6 to 7 times a day. So it's important to me to understand what he's drinking, because he does try to drink the lake dry. So it's always important for me to understand what we're actually putting in the lake, because I do need to call him back if we're treating the lake, and certainly that's a challenge unto itself. So.
Anything you've seen or observed that needs addressing?
I would say, you know, the only things I would say that I've seen have been the high-speed boating on you know, before 11 o'clock, after 7:30. See that quite a bit. Saw that this weekend. You know, I think it was pontoon boat races at about 9 to 10 o'clock on Saturday, just ripping up and down the lake.
I was actually swimming out there at night on Saturday, and one went right by me.
Yep.
Yeah, at full speed.
I usually go out, and I've got an air horn. The pontoon boat, the horn's not very loud, so I usually go to the dock and give them a blast. I have on occasion, a couple times, taken the wave runner and putzed out there and just told them. A lot of times, you know, sometimes they're the residents and they don't care. Sometimes they're people and they don't know and didn't read the sign. But usually just tell them and say, you know, Grunwald's over there looking at you. You know, you might want to cool it down. He's probably going to get you. So just let them know what can happen.
Just because you brought it up, I'll ask the question. What is the rule?
Well, what is the rule between 7:30 and 11?
What is the rule after 11, right, before 11 and after 7:30?
I don't want to say it's no wake, it's slow speeds. It's a little ambiguous on exactly what specifically that means, but I forgot what the sign actually says, but it doesn't say no wake. I'm always careful to say not no wake, but it's a slow speed.
No planing.
No planing. It's no high-speed boating.
Yeah, no
That's
high-speed.
defined as planing.
Yeah,
And
right.
a lot of boats can't even plane, so.
Kyle, is this the first lake you've lived on?
Eric, this is...
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Eric. It is. I lived on an ocean. I lived in Italy, I lived on an ocean, but the first lake, yeah.
Generally speaking, clarity and all the other stuff, it makes it tough when you have all the just packed home next to home, and then, not only, fertilizers and everything else, but I've been fighting this for 50 years, and it just seems like, that's why I sometimes get depressed when our chemical guy comes in and one whole side of the lake didn't get anything. Why? Well, we didn't think we needed. I said, well, get your rake and come on out here and I'll keep you busy. And I don't know, it's just some of the stuff that happens, there seems like there's no excuse for it, but the one thing that scares me all the time is that area where everybody likes to park and swim. I live right across from that, and that's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I mean, there are boats actually out from the island a couple 100 feet, and there's 10 or 15 boats tied up. And there's an ordinance about anchoring during boating hours. You can't be over 100 feet from shore.
I guess,
And I think those are the things that concern me about the lake, and we've been discussing it, but they're making an effort to clean the water up and take care of the shorelines and stuff, so.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And, speaking, I've always kind of questioned the whole, the swimming area, because obviously it is inward from the pontoons. One question I've always had has been, if it's 100 feet from shore, the fishermen are all constantly going up and within 10 feet of my dock and actually even throwing their lines underneath my pontoon boat.
That's legal.
And I'm usually on them. I'm usually out there. I've got a sign actually on my dock that says no fishing. A big sign I put on there says no fishing. And I think they're harassing me at this point. I think it attracts them instead.
it's legal. There's nothing, the water, the top water is not owned by the
And you
riparians.
occasionally get your canvas on your boat hooked and everything.
But there's nothing against that.
Right.
So, we have to make
As
sure.
long as they're moving when they're fishing.
There's no rule against being
On
close
the
to
water,
shore.
they
You're not-
can't be standing there.
The rule is that you're not allowed to anchor
Right.
unless you're within 100 feet of shore.
Right.
There's no rule around not being allowed to fish near shore.
Right.
There's no rule, it's completely legal. Riparian rights don't include topwater, it's just bottom ground. So they can't anchor by your house in all instances, but they can. It's 100, if they're within 100 feet of shore, you're allowed to anchor, so.
Outside of 100.
Outside of 100.
You said within
No,
100.
you are not allowed to anchor in the middle of the lake. You have to be within 100 feet of shore to anchor.
Right. During the boating hours.
Yes. Okay. But yeah, I mean, as far as people being able to fish under docks, I hate when people cast under my pontoon, but it is legal. It is
You
within
think
their right.
everybody would have read those big signs you put out there and know what's going on, huh?
Some of them did.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was one or two.
You took a
Okay.
survey?
Do you have any other questions here for Eric?
Good.
Thank you for replying.
Question?
No, I'm
Good. Okay, we're good. Next up is David. Come on up.
I'm an old timer. Came up here in 1975.
All right, David, give us your address.
David Leyburn from 2335 Shaken. I owned 3 homes on this lake until I built this one before I was 30. But anyhow, I started with the water team at first. And that was interesting to the degree. And then we developed the Water Management Board, and I was the first Water Management Board chairman. One thing about me is I always think out of the box. So, some people had a hard time with my method of analyzing things. But we would see, for instance, we had weeds in the lake, and the poor harvester would work like his tail, but he would never be able to catch up in July and August throughout the lake. So I read a lot and found out that there was a product called Sonar that was in Florida. I jump in a plane, go down there at my own expense, research it, come back, and the word got out that we were going to put chemicals on the lake. Everyone in the lake was all upset. We had so many people in here, they were going right out the door. And the old timers didn't want chemicals. And we had a young man that was very intelligent, and he read that he didn't want chemicals because he was a fisherman. But I also realized that, boy, this guy really does his research. So I went over to his house and I said, this is the documents I got on Sonar when I was in Florida. Would you please read it? Because I don't want to put anything or encourage anything in the lake, because I have 2 little kids, and we live on the lake, on the deep hole. So the guy read it, and then the following meeting we had, of course, he got up to talk. And everybody there that was anti-chemicals was thinking, well, he's going to really go after David. Well, guess what? He read it, and he had nothing but good things to say about it. As a matter of fact, they started a petition to put chemicals for the village. And of course, we put the Sonar. And I don't remember having algae with the Sonar product. But due to the fact it was brand new, DNR did not want us to use the right amount in order to be effective. But we did convince them to go ahead with the right amount to make it effective. And it was excellent. Of course, I got pushed right into to be on the council. We also took the whole board to Lansing twice. One was for the chemicals, to convince them to help us put the right chemicals in there, the right amount to do the job. The next time we went there to lower the lake 5 feet in order to pull the 1,200 stumps out of this lake. They only wanted to give us 2.5 feet. Well, one thing with the politicians, if it's not their idea, normally they don't want to deal with it. But again, we figured out, well, let's try Wolverine Lake as an experimental lake. That word is very powerful with DNR. And they allowed us to lower it 5 feet. So we've done a lot of things for the lake out of the box with the board, where we went to places to find out what were they doing that we weren't doing in order to improve the quality. Mm-hmm. We also measured the quality of, the weekend by how many gallons of gas we would use for the family on the lake. So we used the lake tremendously. I had 2 boys. One of the boys at junior high said to me, Dad, when I get married, I'm going to come back to this village because I love it here. And that's what he did. He bought a house in Wolverine Drive. Now he's on Shankin. And if you want somebody to think out of the box, it would be great to be on the team.
Yeah, we did get a chance to kind of look over your history and resume here, and it obviously it is very extensive in the things that you've done. So, I know you've been in here a couple times in the recent past, and, one of the issues that you addressed, but is there anything else that you think that,
Well, I
just
think
briefly?
it's education. We get a lot of new residents in the village, and I'll be frank with you, a lot of them don't know just like today, you folks were questioning, the 100-foot anchoring and so forth. One thing we did was we brought all the private parks in here, and we brought a lawyer from Lansing, from DNR, and to educate them.
Yeah.
Education is the key to anything you do nowadays if you want to succeed. So I think we need to recruit people from off the lake to be on this board besides all lakefront water.
Yeah, it'd be nice. We'd be up for that, yeah.
We've been trying.
Pardon me?
Here I am.
Well,
I said, we try regularly, trust
Okay.
me, it just is not that easy.
and you're just as important as the person that has waterfront.
Yes.
The key of it, the key of it is that if you have the right to have waterfront, then you should be there. That's the bottom line. And that's the way I feel.
Bottom line is you have to take an interest in your community.
Right. And the thing about it is, if you see that the board is active in the community, they'll join you. There's no question about it. I say, start out recruiting people by bringing people in from these access lots to organize them, teach them that they have a responsibility and liability if they don't have all the proper signing and everything else for those properties.
Yeah.
But it's up to us to try to educate them.
Yeah, that's good.
Dave, is your joining this group just for lake improvement?
Ed?
Because when you came in here at the first meeting, all it was about the police and this piece of property that you've been arguing
Okay.
with since 25, 30 years.
Okay, let me explain something to you. Mr. Donnelly gave walkie-talkies to the police department.
Yeah,
we know that?
Yeah,
Yes,
we
yes,
know
We've
all
been
that.
through all that.
Okay, hold
I
on,
think
hold
we're
on,
beyond
hold on.
that.
My question
Let me
is, what
finish.
is your motive for
Let me
being in this
finish.
commitment?
Okay? The people, we had 31 people live, and they have that park that I live at. He put his dock right in the middle. I had nothing to do with that. They came to me as a councilman to help them get that dock off that. Well, I'm one of those people that if I'm in a position where I gotta help them, I do help them, and I don't stop until I achieve that. Now, these people send letters to the council, they send letters to the chief, they send letters to the administrator, and nobody did anything about it. And I used to come to council, if you remember, about that dock, because I wasn't gonna give up until that guy took it off their people's park. They asked me as a councilman to help them. Has nothing, I have 340 feet or so forth of waterfront. That wasn't the issue. The issue is, if somebody from the lake comes to you, or if you're on the council and somebody comes to you for help, you gotta help them. And I won't give up until I achieve it.
Well, my biggest concern is, I was on council all the time that you were on council.
Right.
And there was some of your ideas and some of the things you approached me with were kind of way off in the left field.
Well, Ed, I'll tell you what, unless you know the whole story, you come over to my house.
No, I'm
and
not.
I'll show you.
Let me ask you this. Do you remember you coming over to me and telling me that you wanted to get rid of the police chief and
Ed?
the administrator?
Don't go
Okay.
there.
Yeah,
Don't go
Do you
there.
remember that?
No,
Good.
I don't,
Guys,
but I know.
Guys, I don't think we need to go
Yeah.
there right now. I think what we need to do is we need to look forward.
Yep.
What is needed at the lake this time? We don't need to look what happened in the past. We just need to look, what can we do to improve the situation now? And that's the kind of people that we want, moving forward. So.
Any other questions?
Anybody else have any other questions for Dave?
Good.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
So we could take a minute to I guess, make nominations as required and second them and see if we can come to a consensus here. So I think I'll open this up for discussion or nominations as required. I'm going to start it off myself, if you don't mind. So I'm going to make a nomination for Kyle. I'll make a motion to add Kyle to the board, filling at least Doug Nye's spot with an expiration of December 31st, 2024.
I'll second that.
Second. So let's do roll call vote on that for the motion for adding Kyle to the board. Recommendation to council to add Kyle Jennings to the board, filling Doug Nye's spot at the expiration of December 2024.
Martini?
Aye.
Sinkwitz?
Yes.
Jankowski?
Yes.
Malik?
Yes.
No, on my sheet here, Nick,
Eric
Eric, and your last name?
Grant.
I would like to make a motion to bring him on board.
I'll second.
Okay, I've got a motion to add Eric Grant to the board. We've got terms, we have a backfill term for, I don't know if we have to recommend the term, but we do have two openings, one from backfilling Mitch that is December 31st, 2024, another from Mike Sargent that's December 31st, 2022. You want to throw them on the 24?
First, yeah.
Okay, so the motion is by Ed. It's to add Eric Grant to the Water Management Board.
I second that.
Backfilling Mitch's term with the expiration of December 31st, 2024. Seconded by Rob. Roll call vote.
Sinkwitz?
Yes.
Jankowski?
Yes.
Malik?
Yes.
Martini?
Yes. Okay. We have other recommendations for, at this point? Bob? Ed?
Tom Jennings?
We have Kyle Jennings, Eric Grant, David Leyburn, the three applicants at this point in time.
Just the three?
That's what we have, is three applicants that talked today.
I make a motion to put David Leyburn on the board.
Motion to add David Leyburn to the board,
I'll second that.
seconded by, Rob? Okay, we've got a roll call vote for that.
What position would you backfill?
He would be backfilling Mike Sargent, who would be an expiration of December 31st, 2022.
Malik?
Yes.
Jankowski?
Yes.
Martini?
Yes.
Sinkwitz?
No.
Okay, I think that covers our board applicants. So what'll happen is the motions will go to council. Council meets second Wednesday of the month?
Yeah.
Okay, second Wednesday of the month, the motions go to council. Council will decide to add or not. You'll probably get a copy of the agenda from village council. And then if you're added to the board of council, then third Wednesday next month.
Second Wednesday.
No, for us.
Oh, for us,
It'd be
third, yeah.
third Wednesday of
Yeah.
next month. We get added from that point. Okay? Alrighty, there we go.
Thanks, gentlemen.
everybody, for
You're
coming
welcome
in.
to stay if you want.
Yeah, you can stay or leave, whatever makes you happy. It's 97 degrees out and the lake would be beautiful to swim in. That's where I would be. I was going to have a question about your commitments, but you're here on a beautiful 97 degree day to join the board, so I'm pretty confident you're going to show up if you can. Because it was hard for me to get here.
Are we expected to be at the board meeting?
The council meeting?
Yes.
You'll get an email. I don't think you have to be there. If they, I can't remember, they swear
They
you
like
in.
you there because they swear you in, you got to sign, okay?
But you can also
Yeah.
do that at the village
You can
office.
also come to the village office and do it, either way.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
so-
you can't do anything till after you're approved by council, which is the second Wednesday in July.
Yeah, so the second Wednesday, every council meeting, they come in for any new board additions, they'll approve or not. You can be there and they can swear you in at that point in time, or they can approve you and then you come to the village and you sign some paperwork and you're good. Right. So fairly easy process. So I guess with that, you guys can stick around if you want, you guys can head out if you want, whatever makes you happy. All right, so moving on, admin report. Current lake level, I actually just had it up. It's good goods. We're right in the summer area. We're literally like dead on. Let me just do some math. 0.065 times 12. So we are literally within 1 inch of the targeted summer level, so we are good. It's been really good since it achieved the current lake level. We've been basically dead in the green, so good with that. No really complaints from the village. I don't know if you guys have heard anything. I didn't get anything from the admin. The only stuff that I've seen is complaints on algae, which I've forwarded to Paul Hausler. And that's how we have the additional treatment scheduled for Friday. So that's the only thing that I've seen. It's been pretty good so far, at least from what I've seen on social media, and I haven't heard anything else. I don't know if you guys heard anything worthwhile. Usually they would come as written form from David, but I haven't seen anything. All right, great. Next up, chairperson's report and general communications to the board. You get something?
Well, you skipped key calendar dates.
I didn't get there yet. I am on 9. I just read chairperson's
Oh.
report and general communications to the board. So we are on it now?
Well, okay,
How that is.
no, that's fine. I just, because we've got 2 dates for Progressive here.
Yep.
That's why I asked, so I'm sorry.
Okay, no, go for it. So, at least right now, the one that just passed is June 1st, which June 1st is usually when we start the harvester. I did ask David what's going on with the harvester, because usually we have the harvester hours up on the website. They're not up on the website, but it did run Wednesday, Thursday, and Monday, as well as yesterday, so it's run 4 times already since the 1st. So I got to get the hours updated on the website, and then I have the tracking sheet that I usually keep, so we'll make sure that that's good. But really, that's it. It was the first day of the harvester. Usually June 20th and June 24th. Usually June 20th, we do that bird count, right? Doug Nye is always the one who does the bird count. He's no longer with the board, so that's something we got to figure
The
out.
bird population seemed to be awfully low this year, relatively speaking.
This is why we do the bird count.
Yeah.
Well, they canceled the DNR because of the viruses.
So the goose roundup.
Right.
Yeah, so usually we do the goose roundup on around the June 24th timeframe, which we can no longer do. But we do normally do a bird count around this point in time. So we should probably do that. I think Doug used to always do it. I think I have the document for the bird count. I have to find it. Yep, bird and boat count. So the fowl count. So usually I think Doug used to putz around, count ducks, geese, and swans, and herons, and he would do that mid-June every year. Usually, last year.
He just runs around the lake and...
He just runs around the lake. But last year he counted, usually it's been in the 150s, 160s. Last year he counted 388 birds.
He gets them to sign in.
Yeah, I think he just gets up in the morning and then putts it around the lake and counts them up. But we do have a running track of it, which is interesting to keep. We've been doing it since 2001, so we got to do it. I don't know if anybody wants to volunteer. We can go do a Saturday morning cruise and go check it out. I'll be interested in doing it if somebody wants to join.
Yeah, I'll join you.
You gonna do it?
Yeah.
All right, let's plan on it.
Some of our new folks, if they get on here, maybe they are.
Oh, we have to do it before they're on the board.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
They always do it in June.
Okay.
June. So let's stick with June. Maybe we'll grab a drink and putz the lake and count birds.
Sounds good.
All right. So that's the only thing that I have. And then, of course, like you said, we just had a notification on a couple treatments. We got allergy being treated next week, and then the next survey
One of
after
them
that.
tomorrow.
Yep, allergy tomorrow. Yep, you're right. And then our next survey after that would be June 23rd, which will be the survey that feeds the July treatment, or the treatment for July 3rd. All right. Okay, continuing business, plant control and invasive species. I don't have anything to add there just because of, we just had Paul in.
Right.
If anybody has anything there.
No.
Eagle grant update. Was that on you or was that on Paul?
I saw that on there, but, I talked about this last meeting, how that's not until October when you would submit for
Okay.
that, so
Okay.
I wasn't sure why this made it
So no
on the
update.
list.
It just it didn't make it on, it just didn't make it off. So no update, that's fine.
Okay.
And that you said until August?
October
No.
is when the application is due.
Okay, so no update until October. Cool. Harvester discussion, I don't have anything to add outside of the fact that it is in, unlike last year where it was broken at this point in time, it's
Plus-
in and running.
Yeah, plus they've had some new people that have been out on the lake that they've been working with on running it, so.
Oh, there are other,
Yeah.
in addition to
I think they had
Steve and his
three
wife, is there?
that applied, and I don't know if one of them backed out or something, but I think they've been working with the other two. Now, that was discussion at last council meeting, which was last week. I don't know if anything's changed, okay? So
Is Grant McNutt still helping, or did he?
I couldn't tell you. I think he backed out.
Totally? Okay.
Yeah.
So I thought there was a
Right,
discussion last time that maybe he might be able to
Right.
help a little bit.
Whether it was school or something going on
Yeah.
that changed it, so. Don't quote me because I'm not positive there.
Okay, outside of that, the only harvester discussion I have is the fact that we need to get the hours updated on the website so people are aware of it. And, we've been tracking the maps. We changed the way they do the maps last year so you can see where they've treated on a single plot. So I'll make sure that David gets that, or Tabitha gets that up on the website. But just for background, last year, the harvester had a fuel issue in the beginning, fuel pump problem, and then we lost the operator. It's like, we didn't get the harvester last year,
Was non-existent.
it was literally, you're right, it was basically non-existent. So in 2021,
But that's last year.
yeah, it barely ran. I have to look it up, let me just see, 2021. Yeah, all year, it barely, it didn't start really doing anything until August, probably. It was a painful year
It
last
wasn't
year.
a
for
good year
harvester.
for the herd.
Total, all year, it didn't even break 100 hours last year. So, and most of that was late in the year. So usually we were running around 160 hours a year with the harvester. Okay, lakeshore maintenance, erosion, cleanup, debris. I don't know if you guys have anything to add there. I don't have anything in this topic.
I know there were complaints, remember last year we had the woman come in, discuss about how down by Benstein, there were pieces of the marsh that were
Yeah.
breaking, have we heard any more?
No, we got, if you remember, we added the no wake buoy down that side.
Is it there?
Is there?
Yeah.
It is there?
It sits
I thought I
right
heard
out in the
today and I
middle. You
didn't-
can't miss it if you drive down Benstein and look.
Okay,
you'll see it.
maybe I did miss it, even though it's probably right, but okay.
It's like right here.
Yeah, it sits right there.
It was this area that was all breaking apart.
Yeah, yeah.
It's one buoy.
Ski all the way down there, so there's
Oh, yeah, right, okay.
no wake
right.
buoy down there.
Yeah.
So we added that after they were coming in with a petition and stuff.
Yeah, okay.
So that got added. It's out again this year, so I haven't heard anything outside of that.
Okay.
Lake enforcement issues. I don't think there was anything out of the ordinary. I didn't hear any complaints. There were some obvious complaints on Facebook and stuff like this around people ripping around before the hours. I don't know of anything specific there.
But is there much we can do about that, or we just
No,
need to wait?
no, it's basically just getting with the police chief. But-
Most of the offenders are people that live here. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, his general opinion is that most of the people are people that live here and also know the rules.
Yeah.
So, I don't know really what you can do about that. Okay, Huron Valley Watershed Council. Was this Paul?
Yeah,
This is Paul, so I will have no update if Paul's not here today.
right.
The goals and objectives, so now that it looks like we're going to expand the board, what I'll do is bring this in next meeting, assuming we've got some new members, and then also go through, just for background, we've got a bunch of different objectives on the board, and we kind of like partition that out a little bit among people on the board, and you know, if there's certain action items, we basically say, you're going to be like the resident expert on that. We're not really going to be the experts. We've got people that we can bring in. But if somebody has a question about A, B, or C, we try and delegate that out to different people, that area of focus or something that might interest you, whether it be safety or erosion or whatever. So what I'll do is I'll bring in that next meeting, and we'll have a discussion on review of the goals and objectives, and then review the kind of the work split, right? So we'll save that for next meeting, since we'll probably have some new members at that time. Clean Boat, Clean Waters, you had some email traffic on that, I think, didn't you? The spray station?
I haven't yet, no.
I thought you had email traffic on that. Are you sure?
Well, other than the discussions I had with, about having the, one of the new,
This is February. I thought I saw something from you on this thing.
well, oh yeah, you mean the thing that's
It's May 11th.
in July that they're going to have, where the DNR is
Yeah.
coming out? Oh, yeah.
So
I mean, there's nothing, no new news on that. There's still a plan to have that in July.
Okay.
Like for a week, they're going to have that station out here.
Okay, so July 7th to the 4th. Remind me what this thing is? Because there's a possibility of something.
That's where the DNR, Jen, Etienne, and they come out and they have one of those stations to actually clean boats and do some education on that.
Okay, so
Yeah.
this is
I'll
happening
follow up
when?
with her just to make sure, the dates are on there, July 7th through the 14th.
So at the DNR launch from July 7th.
Through the 14th, they'll have a setup there where the machine is there to perform this spraying of boats and removing all the invasive species. I will follow up with her to make sure that that is still on track for that same time.
Yeah, we should throw a note on the village website and the board out here. So you want to just take that, just follow up, see if that's going to happen, and if it is, let's just throw something on the village sign or something so
Yeah.
people know what's up.
Okay.
Okay, great. All right, the last one is the website.
Yeah, where are we with
Which
that?
I'll admit, this kind of is on me, I think. So David, all right, let me just refresh my own memory here, because this was something that happened. Okay. Okay, so the most recent thing, so if you guys recall, we put an RFP out there for updating the website, for doing this kind of dynamic map thing that would indicate to everybody where all the lake accesses are, no wake zones, things of this, where village parks are, things of this nature. We did get RFP, only one response, which was from Julie Height, who did some work on our website previously. Her concern was that the way the website's currently designed, it wouldn't easily integrate, so we would have to link out to a different website for it. So she provided a quote that would build a link from our website to a separate page that would contain all the layers, okay? And it would be lower cost. So he basically left it on me to go follow up with Julie or revise the spec to do another RFP. So it sounds like this is on me. So I guess I dropped the ball on this one. Let me see. So I think we probably got to go and update the spec. I'll have to update the spec.
They have a budget for that? They give you-
We got quotes, yeah, I put some in the budget for it. We put, I submitted our budget, and it was approved, so we can get an update from when we do the roundtable, but all the stuff that we put in for our budget, my understanding is that it was all okayed with no changes, and I did have money in there for the website update, so. Yeah, I think we had like $3,000 in there for the website. Okay, so I apologize, that's on me. I got to go back and probably get with Dave and get with Julie. I figure out if we want to do a wider RFP or just kick Julie off on it. I didn't realize it was sitting in my inbox here as an action item for myself, so that's on me. Okay.
Off this time. We'll let you
Let me
off
off this time, thank you. Okay, future business items, so open discussion. You got anything, Bob? No? Want to go swimming?
Future.
No, nothing tonight? You got anything?
Oh, wait a minute. You're talking about future business.
That's right.
Nothing
What do you got?
here.
Nothing?
No, when it comes my
Ed,
turn.
all good? No ads? All right. Liaison reports, village council.
Okay, a few things. The council, per the chief's recommendation, we have hired a new police officer, female, Christiana Skotsky. Hoped I pronounced that right. And she had worked for us for 3 years back from 17 through 20 and left, got married and ended up coming back. We hired her as of last Wednesday, full-time. We have a new police car, which is a Durango. We've stepped down from the Tahoes. The cost factors were outrageous with the Tahoes, and there's a lot of people using, police forces using the Durangos and the Explorers. So we've got that. We're set up for the new graphics to be put on it. We've approved, I think I mentioned last meeting, new radios and body cams that should be coming in the future. The council also passed the budget, like you had just mentioned.
Yep.
With no changes, not only for this board, but just in general.
Yep.
The new treasurer is working out very well. You know, she's stepping in. As a matter of fact, she sat here, and Mike was in the audience for our council meeting. And we have negotiated a new contract through 2024 with the chief. Okay, and the government funding on coronavirus monies, okay, I guess that's the best way to put it, that the federal government is sending. We've gotten a portion, and we've utilized it with certain pay raises and different things, okay? So other than that, the village is in sound shape.
Cool. Just as a refresh on the budget, right? We had typical stuff for maintenance things for the dam, lake pumps, berm repair, that was in there. We had $2,500 for fish stocking. We had $70,000 for the lake chemical treatment, which now, if the new algae treatments are going to be more expensive next year, we probably needed to consider that, but we didn't. But hopefully it's okay. The past couple of years, we've been using less than the $70,000, so hopefully it's okay. We had money allocated for Safety Festival, which we need to execute. We had money for the website, money for Clean Boat, Clean Water, which was a grant match.
I'm sorry, I neglected one other thing, please forgive me. Tiki candles are in, and they are $5 each. I'm selling them, Nedro is, and there's something on the website to tell you the different locations around the lake that you can purchase them if interested. I'm sorry I neglected that.
Okay. All right, our planning commission liaison is not in attendance, so we will not have a report from the planning commission. Comments from the board members? What do you got? Nothing. Nothing? No comment? All good? Yep.
Well, I just have some comments. We have Tiki Night coming up. Those of you that are going to have guests and friends, I hope you're orderly about it, and we're going to have a real police presence, which we always do. They try and keep it maintained so we don't have problems. The cost of that has gone up around $15,000 for fireworks this year. So enjoy it, because, I don't know what next year will bring dollars and cents. I think the village will still work on having the fireworks, but the expenses or the costs are really getting great. So the Onward and Upward Committee, the golf outing, all these tiki candles are close to a break even, okay? But these other people in these other committees and things have worked very hard to put funds into it for the people to enjoy. So it's the only comments I have. Stay safe and have a good holiday.
Motion to adjourn?
Second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, aye. All right. Good.